In this video, I will demonstrate how to turn a color image into a customized black and white image using Adobe Lightroom CC. When choosing one of your images in Lightroom to convert into black and white, my favorite photos for this process have a variety of shades. And make note of the original colors that appear in your image. You'll use this info later. In my image, I mainly see red, orange, yellow, and blue. Open the Edit panel, and you'll have the defaulted black and white profiles you could use, but I want to show you how to customize the tones to fit your specific photo. You'll first click on the Color drop-down, and then click on the Black and White button to convert your image into black and white. The color mixer in this panel will change into the black and white mixer. Click this arrow to show more options. And these are the sliders that will allow you to control the individual colors in your image, the colors which are now translated into tones on a grayscale. Let's start with the red slider, and Lightroom will adjust every part of the image that was originally red in the photo. Moving the slider to the left will darken the reds, and to the right will lighten them. Granted, I didn't see much of a change with red in my photo, but let's take a look at orange. I definitely see a change in the oranges that were on the dome. For yellow, I see some changes in the color of the building next to the street. And the other color I mentioned earlier was blue, and I see some changes mainly in the sky. If you want to start over with your sliders, you can come up to where it says black and white mixer, and it will reset them all at once. If you know that you want one part of your photo to be brighter or darker, but you're not sure which sliders to move, you can click on this crosshairs button, which gives you the target adjustment option. Move your cursor over part of your photo, and you'll see some small circles appear. The small white circle in the top left is the sample area where you will click, and the other two circles are the colors that Lightroom is finding in that area. In my photo, it's finding a lot of brown, which is a shade of orange, and a little bit of green on the dome. I can tell how much of each color it's finding by the size of the circles. Once you find a spot, click and a slider for the main color will appear. Now you can change the saturation of this color, and if the two circles were the same size, both sliders in the panel will move. For instance, this spot, we have a bit of blue and a tiny bit of aqua, and you can see over on the sliders that the aqua one is moving as well as the blue, but at a smaller ratio. So you can continue clicking and adjusting the sliders for all the various parts of your image. However, the concrete window I shot this through has a crossed out symbol, so that means I can't use the target adjustment color sliders here. That's because it's originally gray. So for black, white, and gray tones from the original image, you'll need to go down to this symbol, which brings up the tone curve. Now you can click on it and get a slider that allows you to adjust the brightness. Instead of sliders on the right changing, you'll see it change the graph. You don't need to understand the graph fully at this point, but you can see that the darker colors will adjust the left side of the graph and the lighter colors adjust the right. And I like high contrast images, so I always want a true black, a true white, and lots of grays mixed in. So your black and white mixer sliders are still here. You just have to scroll down the panel to view them again. You also have the option to have Lightroom auto adjust your image first, and then you can adjust the sliders to your liking. Let's collapse the black and white and tone curve panels and do further adjustments in the light panel. Here you can make changes to the overall image using these sliders. Again, I like contrast, but these choices are always up to you, the artist. I'll add a little bit of a highlight, a little shadow, and then I'll use the trick of holding down my Alt or Option key on the keyboard to make sure the whites aren't too blown out. And I'll do the same for the reverse of the black slider. I'll collapse the light panel, and lastly, we'll take a look under the detail panel. This panel can be hard to demonstrate because it's going to vary based on the image. Here you have sharpening, noise reduction, and color noise reduction. Take a look at the dome as I move the sharpening slider all the way to the right. It's bringing out the details of the image, especially in the dome and this top part of the roof. Now, sharpening won't be able to help your photo if it was blurry when you took it. It can help a little bit, but it's not magic. You'll also want to not over sharpen or your image will have a harsh look. Next, let's experiment with noise reduction. This can be very helpful if you have a photo taken at a high ISO or has some visual noise, meaning that your image maybe has a grainy texture. My example isn't showing it the best, but I do see some change in the lower parts of the sky. For color noise reduction, watch the dome again as I move the slider. Remember, the dome was a red-orange color, so you'll see it soften the edges around the tiles. And believe it or not, Lightroom gives you even more control with additional options and sliders underneath sharpening, noise reduction, and color noise reduction. The changes for these other sliders will be so minute in my image that I'm not going to go over them, but I encourage you to try them out with your images. They could make a big difference. So finally, I'll export this image to the Creative Cloud in a folder I created for this unit, and then I'll compare the original to the new black and white customized version. And that is how to turn a color image into a customized black and white image using Adobe Lightroom CC.